I have no idea.
Ooh, you made a boo-boo.
I made a boo-boo. Hi, I'm Adam and welcome to my car channel. And we're out here on a beautiful sunny day where it's 80 degrees in Georgia in the middle of October, but it's gonna be about 30 in a couple of days. But we're not out here washing cars just yet because we already got one done and we got another one to do today, but that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about one of my little hoopties that we have over here, this 2005 Scion XB that I've had for about 2 years. And today is kind of a sad day because I'm selling it. And I'm selling it because I just don't drive it anymore. I have a friend who needs a cheap car and this one runs and drives. AC works, passes emissions, and it's actually a lot nicer than you think. And we're gonna go over that here in just a little bit. Well, first we're gonna do a quick walk around and tell you a little story about what this car has recently done this year. This car, back in March, completed the Lemon Southern Fried Road Rally. It was a trip of about 3 or 4 days all across the Southeast. Put about a little over 3,000 miles on it, and we did finish without any problems, but unfortunately we didn't win anything because, well, it's too new and it's a Toyota. So that was actually the best part about it for me, was just taking a cheap car anywhere you want to go in America and just having a good time with your buddies. We did that with my buddy John Prizer. You can check out the Toaster XB on Instagram for some of the pictures and some of the videos that we took from that trip. But today we're going to take one little last ride in it, and we're going to talk about the history of this car because it's been in my family for a very, very long time, and I'd like to share that with you today if I may. So let's go for a ride. All right, and we are off in the 05 XB one more time before it finds a new home. Thankfully, it's not going to be too far away. It's going to be over in Gwinnett County with a coworker of mine who just needs a really cheap car. This is a car that's been in my family for a very, very long time. I actually did the pre-purchase inspection on it when it was new for the original owner at Ed Moore's Delray Toyota in Delray Beach, Florida, where I started my career out as a Toyota technician. And about a year later, this one got traded in because the owner, who originally bought this car new, was a professional clown and wanted the RS2 release series in yellow. So this car was traded in, and I stole it off the used car lot temporarily because my father wanted to buy one of these for my sister because I had bought one 2 years earlier. So it's been in my family ever since. I've only had this car for about 2 years. My sister moved across the country and decided that she just didn't want to take it with her. She didn't need to have, her and her husband did not need to have 2 cars, and well, I'm one of the old OG Scion guys. I've been involved with the Scion brand since day one. I was the only technician in Florida to go to the Scion XB, XA, and TC sales release at SET Toyota headquarters in Deerfield Beach. And I still have a lot of promotional items from back in that time period. I moved up here to Atlanta in 2009, joined the Psychotics Car Club, and then ended up running it with my director and friend Fareed over here, who's sitting here quietly, which is unusual for him. So this car is bone stock. It's got a few dealer options on it. It's got the dealer optioned fog lights and a dealer option cruise control, which is a very, very rare accessory to have on one of these original Scions, as anyone who's in that community knows. And it does work. It hasn't caught on fire. I have heard some stories, but this one seems to work just fine. It's about as laggy as most technology is from the early to mid 2000s, as is everything in this car, but that's pretty normal. And it seems like a long time ago, but for those of us who remember that period in history, well, it really wasn't. You know, I drove one of these every day for a little over 12 years. I have another one at home. We will do a video on that car, and that's going to come soon to the channel. And yeah, I made the decision that this car needs to find a new home. I thought I would drive this car every day, and I did for a few months, and then I just parked it and I don't really use it. So that's not fair to the car. Cars need to be used, they need to be driven. Don't let them sit around like paperweights, that's bad. So I've been driving this car for a little bit, and as I mentioned earlier, it's about 80-85 degrees out today, and the aircon's not working very well. It's a little low on charge, but it's an old car, so we'll deal with that at another time. Or shall I say, the guy I'm selling it to, it's his problem, because I'm really not selling this car for a lot of money. That's the nice thing about these cars, actually. You can find a good one of these secondhand for about $3,000 or $4,000, even in this market today, which, as you know, is nuts. And for something under $5,000, that'll just get you anywhere, and I mean anywhere you need to go. It's fantastic. It's incredibly comfortable. It has more room in it than you would ever imagine. I'm about 6'4", okay? And I don't even have the front seat pushed all the way back. I don't need it. And I can actually sit very comfortably in the back of this car with the front seats all the way back. They also fold down flat when you remove the headrest, and it turns into a bed. So if you're too drunk to drive home, camp in your car. Don't take off and drive. That's a bad thing. It's very, very bad, folks.
It's bad.
It's bad. It's very bad.
Okay.
And I'm also a little nostalgic every time I drive this particular car, because this car, as I mentioned in a previous video, is completely 100% stock. Nothing has ever been modified on this one at all, which is fairly rare for one of these, because yabos like us, well, we turned them into whatever the hell we wanted to. Rolling artwork, stereo on wheels, which is what my other car is, and we'll show you that at another time. But when you drive one of these that's completely stock, it just reminds you how cheap and cheerful these cars really are, and they really were groundbreaking at the time. When I first bought mine and took delivery in it February 15th, 2004, I took it out to have dinner with my family to celebrate in the suburbs of West Boca Raton, not exactly a wealthy area. And I couldn't keep people away from it. Not just then, but for years. People would just come up to this little car and go, what the hell is that? I mean, it was so groundbreaking. The styling of it alone just grabbed your attention. And it is because of this car is why we have the Honda Fit, the Kia Soul, and so on. All of these little boxy little economy little cars from Japan and Korea, and even Ford and Chevrolet tried to get competitive with this car, but they were kind of $1 too late. They really were, because this car in 2005 outsold the Camry, okay? They sold over 155,000 Scion XBs alone in 2005. You couldn't get these cars back in the day. That was the main reason I went ahead and took this one off the sales lot and kept it for myself overnight, because I knew as soon as this car got put back on the lot the next morning, it would be gone. It would have been sold. We didn't have a problem moving these back in the day. They didn't sit on the shelf. And all sorts of people loved them. They were a youth brand, and yes, I was in my early 20s when I bought one, but I also had a lot of elderly customers that bought them because they're comfortable and they're good on mileage and they just don't break. They're very cheap to run. And today, I bought rear shocks for these for $30 a piece, brand new. Yeah. What other car can you buy suspension components that cheap, brand new, out of the box? It just doesn't exist. So yeah, I've always been involved with these. I've always loved them. They're cheap and cheerful. They make no bones about what they really are. They're not trying to be something they're not, Scion. It was just a good little car. And it was the kind of car that the rest of the world actually buys. We here in the United States, we just don't like economy cars for some reason anymore. We used to, but I look on the news and I see people in California and other places on the West Coast complaining about $6 a gallon gas, and you look at the gas station and what's being filled up? Tahoes and Range Rovers. Well, pick one, okay? You're not going to get good mileage on a 6,000 pound luxury SUV, but this, despite the fact that it's got over 200,000 miles on it, will still return you about 32, 35 miles per gallon. Easily, and it won't complain about it either. It will just do and go wherever you want it to. And I think that's the best part about it. These cars were 15, 16 grand when they were new, and they were incredibly good value for money then. They're incredibly good value for money now. All right. And my co-pilot here, Fareed, and I basically met through the Scion car hobby, along with a lot of my other friends, and I'm hoping
it's not a Scion! It's not a Scion! Stop saying.
All right, take it easy, calm down, woosah, woosah. Do you need me to rub your belly? It's okay. All right, I'm gonna do you like I do the dog. If I can put you in timeout. Sorry about that, folks. We'll cut that out later. When I moved to Atlanta in 2009, I went to my first Import Alliance car show, which back then was at the Red Deck at the Georgia Dome, which is a massive parking structure that's about 14 stories tall if you've never been there. Basically, it was exactly what you would think of out of a car meet out of the Fast and the Furious movies. It was exactly like that. And that's how I met Fareed, that's how I met Patrick, that's how I met Chris, and so many other people that I'm still friends with to this day. And not just people here in Atlanta, but people who live all over the country, frankly. And I know that if I'm ever in said part of the country and I need help with anything, I make one phone call and it's done. And it might be somebody I haven't talked to in years, but that's just the bond that cars bring to people. And the Scion brand was no exception to that. It really brought a lot of people together. It had a cult following for a very, very short amount of time in the grand scheme of things, but we always had fun, and we still to this day, we all love each other very, very much. And I think that's the point of being a car person, of being a petrol head, if you're watching in the UK. I think that's the whole point of it. It brings people together. Cars are more than just nuts and bolts. They're about the stories, and I'm gonna have a lot of stories to tell you on this channel, not only about my own experience with vehicles, but just my overall take on them. I haven't told you this yet, but I am a 20-year veteran automotive technician. Still working in the industry right now. I work on luxury cars predominantly. That's been the majority of my career, but I started out with Toyota. And I've done everything from Aston Martin to Mercedes-Benz. I've done Lamborghini. I've even worked on some very rare and exotic hand-built cars over the years, including the Spiker C8 that Ed Bolian just bought from Missy Elliott. I worked on that and Akon's car. And yes, they are the only two in Georgia. And if you ever get a chance to go see those in person, please do, because they're just awesome. They really, really are. There's nothing like a Spiker C8 on the road. But we're getting a little off topic here. Back to the Scion. A little more humble of a vehicle. They were only sold with 2 transmissions. The one I have at home is a 5-speed manual. This one's a 4-speed automatic. You might be able to hear that in the background. And the 4-speed automatic Toyota transmissions, they're bulletproof. Just change the fluid in them every 30,000 miles. They don't break. But here's the but. Going up a hill in one of these things with a 4-speed automatic is like pulling teeth, because the gears in it are very tall and they're very, very long, and it's just constantly on the rev limiter to get anything out of it. But that's this car in general. As we're going into beautiful Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park, it's actually holding up well on these hills, doing about 45 miles an hour. It's just slow, it's sluggish, it's lackey. I mean, this car's so slow, Rush Limbaugh could outrun it, and that's today, let alone when he was alive. But that's not the point of this car. This car is just meant to get you from A to B, everywhere you need to go. It came as standard with a CD player. It came as standard with air conditioning, power windows and door locks. And a lot of people today, they don't remember that, you know, there was a time when an automatic and air conditioning and power windows and locks, that was actually stuff that cost you extra money on a car. I remember my mom, when she bought a 1995 Ford Escort station wagon, brand new in 1995, she just adamantly refused to pay an extra $400 for an automatic. I mean, there was just, no, we are not gonna spend $400 on that. That's just out of the question. Now, $400 really doesn't buy you that much, but back in the day, well, it was a lot of money. And it would buy you something that would actually make your life easier. So, I'm gonna miss this car. I really am. It's been in my family a long time, and you know, my dad bought this car for my sister. I helped him facilitate the sale of that back in 2005, and he passed away about 5 or 6 years ago, and this is another one of these members of the family kind of deal, and it's a little sad, but it's time. I don't use the car enough, and the person that I'm selling it to has a car that isn't safe and won't pass emissions here, so he really needs some reliable transportation. So helping out a fellow mechanic, somebody in my industry, that's just one of the things I live to do. So be sure to stay tuned to the channel for some new videos that are going to be popping up. We're getting into the fall here in Georgia, so a lot of the car shows are going to be winding down for the season, so we're going to be doing some in-depth car reviews. We're going to be heading up to the North Georgia mountains and something very, very special that I cannot wait to drive properly where it should be driven instead of just on the streets. I'll tell you about that later. And there will also be a review coming up of the Mercedes. Yes, I have a 2003 210 chassis Mercedes E-Class station wagon. That is an all original, one owner, never been hit in its life car that I daily drive currently, and it is fantastic for what it is. And that video will be coming on the channel shortly. We'll hopefully get that done in the next few weeks, okay? So, thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.